Howdy folks, I'm Melancholy Muskrat, musically masquerading as medieval maidens.
I'm Amber.
Here are more medieval maidens for us to masquerade as. Don't ask me why, don't ask me how. It's just what the muskrats do. It's our muskrat way. We masquerade as medieval maidens. We wear little maiden stuff. And folks, we're having a live stream on Friday. So for more information, please see the end of the video. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Let My Mom Move In After She Sold Her House to Travel? I'm a 29-year-old male, and my mom, a 54-year-old female, has always been a free spirit. She had me when she was young and raised me mostly on her own. And while I love her, she never has been the most responsible person. She's always followed her heart, even when it made no financial sense. Growing up, we struggled because she quit jobs impulsively or spent money that she didn't have. I learned early to be independent because I never felt like I could fully rely on her. Well, 5 years ago, when I was finishing up college, she decided to sell her house, quit her job, and travel. She said that she spent her whole life being tied down and now deserves to live. I asked what she would do when the money ran out, and she laughed, saying, "That's a future me problem." Family tried to talk her out of it, but she was determined. She sold her house, got rid of most of her belongings, and spent the next few years hopping from country to country, posting about her dream life on social media. Well, her future problems have finally arrived. A few months ago, she called me, sounding anxious, and she admitted that she was broke and had no place to go. She asked to stay with me and my fiance, a 28-year-old female, for a little while until she figured things out. The problem is that we just bought our first home. It's a small 2-bedroom house that we barely have any space in. We're also planning our wedding and looking forward to finally having our own life. I told her that I was sorry, but I couldn't let her move in. I offered to help her financially for a bit, maybe cover rent for a cheap apartment, but she got really upset. She said that I was selfish and ungrateful, and that she sacrificed everything to raise me, and now I was abandoning her. She told me that family helps family, and that I was acting like a stranger. I reminded her that she ignored everyone's warnings, and that I shouldn't have to put my life on hold for her choices. She started crying, saying that I don't understand how hard it was to be alone and broke at her age. That part made me feel guilty, because I do get that she's scared and struggling. But at the same time, I can't keep saving her from herself. Now, family members are reaching out, saying that she's my mother and that I owe it to her. My fiance supports my decision, but feels bad too. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my mom move in after she gambled her entire future away? Alright folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. And all those family members who are getting on your case, why don't you thank them for sending their homes to your mom and remind them that family helps family and tell them that you'll be sending your mom their way?
Well, I think that OP actually made a really good compromise here where they're giving OP's mom financial support.
Mm-hmm.
They're offering to help her, with rent. And maybe she's upset, but it's not like OP even put her out on her ear or anything like that. They said, best we can do is give you some monetary help for right now.
Right, and she doesn't like that because she wants a permanent solution where she doesn't have to work a corporate job again, or any kind of job that would tie her down.
Yeah.
She wants to live her free-spirited life, and unfortunately she doesn't have the resources to sustain that anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's really what this boils down to. She is upset because she wants a permanent place to live, not because OP is, in the wrong here. So, yeah, I don't think that OP's in the wrong. I really feel like this is a trap. If OP lets her live here now, she's going to be living here forever.
Right, because, she doesn't change. She's shown very clearly that she prioritizes her wants above all else. She has no problem sabotaging her entire future so she can have fun in the moment.
Yeah.
Because she's always expecting someone else to come and pick up the pieces. And OP, you don't owe her anything. She chose to have a child. You didn't choose to be born. Even when kids come from good families, they still don't owe it to their parents. It may be a nice thing to help them out, but it's not. You're never owed. You're never indebted for being born.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Boneflesh85 says, Not the jerk. You warned her and she refused to listen. Tell her that future her needs to solve the problems like she said. Quote her to herself. If she likes traveling, she can get a random job anywhere in the world. And OP replies, she actually did have a job while traveling, but she got fired for being, well, herself. Annoying and impulsive. It's frustrating because it feels like she hasn't learned from her past mistakes. I don't know that it's nice to say that she's annoying. Impulsive is probably an accurate descriptor, but I don't know why she would be classified as annoying.
Well, and I mean, there's also, I mean, probably she doesn't have the resources for it, but if impulsivity is something she's struggled with her entire life, it might be worth having her talk to a therapist about the impulsivity and trying to come up with a plan to manage it or something like that.
Yeah. And Starry Twinkle Glow says, not the jerk, your mom made her choices knowing full well that they could lead to this. She even laughed off concerns about what would happen when the money ran out. Now that that reality has hit, she expects you to clean up the mess. And Arena Spire says, nope, you're not the jerk. Your mom made her choices, and you shouldn't sacrifice your own life and stability for her consequences. Offering financial help is generous. Letting her live with you isn't your responsibility. Your feelings are valid. And OP replies, thank you for your understanding. It's a tough situation, and I really do want to help her out, but I also need to prioritize my own life and future. Offering financial support feels like a fair compromise, even if she doesn't see it that way. And OP also replies to the first comment, exactly, she made those choices knowing the risks, and now she expects me to clean up the mess. I want to help, but I can't sacrifice my own future for her mistakes. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, am I a jerk for asking my brother to pay to use the family cabin after he refused to help restore it? A few years ago, I'm a 35-year-old male's grandparents passed away and left behind a beautiful but very run-down lakeside cabin. It had been in our family for generations, but by the time that it was passed down, it was in pretty rough shape. The wood was rotting, the roof leaked, and the plumbing was ancient. My parents, not wanting the hassle, offered it to my younger brother, Matt, at first, since he had always talked about how much he loved the place growing up. At first, Matt was excited, but when he saw the actual state of the cabin, he quickly changed his mind. The renovations would cost tens of thousands of dollars, and the upkeep was more than he was willing to commit to. He told my parents that he wasn't in a position to take over such a big project, and that it was too much work for a vacation home, so they turned to me. I thought about it for a little while, and even though I knew that it would be a lot of work, I loved that cabin. I spent almost every summer there as a kid, fishing with my grandpa and roasting marshmallows with my cousins. It meant something to me, so I took it. The thing is that taking ownership wasn't just signing some papers, it was years of work and tens of thousands of dollars. I had to replace the roof, reinforce the foundation, fix the plumbing, and completely redo the deck, which was one bad storm away from collapsing. It became my after-work project, but it also became a major financial commitment. Every spare dollar that I had went into fixing up that place. I asked my family to help out many times, whether financially or physically, with labor, but no one ever did. Well, fast forward to a few years later, and Matt reaches out saying that he and his wife would want to take their kids on a summer vacation there and would love to use our cabin for a week. I told him sure, but he needs to contribute $500 to cover the utilities and general wear and tear. He flipped out. He said that I was being greedy for charging the family and that the grandparents wouldn't have wanted the cabin to be a business. I reminded him that he had the chance to take ownership, and he chose not to do it because he didn't want the responsibility. Now that I've poured my time and money into making it a livable space, it's not fair for him to expect a free vacation just because we share blood. He argued that it's not like you're paying rent on it, and you're going to be there anyways. But it's not the point. If I let him stay there for free, where do I draw the line? Do I have to offer it to every cousin, uncle, or second cousin twice removed who wants a weekend getaway? If Matt contributes nothing but gets free access, doesn't that mean that I'm basically paying for his vacation? Now our mom is involved, saying that I should do the right thing because family helps family. I told her that Matt was offered the cabin first, and he said no because it was too much work. I had then asked for financial and physical help, but he also declined. He didn't want to deal with the responsibilities. He just wants the benefits now that I've taken on all the costs. Matt hasn't spoken to me since, and our mom keeps telling me that I'm being unfair. Am I the jerk for expecting him to chip in, or is he just entitled? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, family helps family works both ways. And as OP saw, when OP needed help, no one was there to be seen. OP offered to let them chip in either financially or with the physical labor, and no one wanted to help. As soon as OP gets the cabin back into working state, which it sounds like, they had to invest a lot of time and energy and money
Years.
into, then everyone's like, oh, we want a vacation here, free vacation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that OP is not wrong for wanting compensation. And I think that $500 for a week vacation is an unbeatable price in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways. Like if you take out a hotel, if you rent a hotel or an Airbnb, I mean, some places you'll spend that in a night these
Mm-hmm.
days, right? You know, asking for money so that they can keep the fuel tanks full, asking for money for, the maintenance costs and keeping up on that kind of stuff isn't really that much of an ask. And I think that if OP were to make an itemized bill about why he's charging these things, then it might go over a little bit easier.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like they are going to be using resources while they're there and adding wear and tear. I mean, little kids inadvertently can cause a lot of damage to places, and so I don't think, I mean, even if the brother was coming on his own and was going to be taking perfect care of the cabin, I think it would still be reasonable to ask a fee.
Hmm.
But, I think the brother's especially entitled, where he's going to be using all these resources, expecting OP to compensate anything that happens.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Son of Scroot says charging them is the right thing to do, not the jerk. And OP replies, it's about fairness and respect for the time, money, and energy that I've put into this. If they enjoy the cabin, they should contribute. Thanks for seeing it that way too. And Stan says, not the jerk. Matt didn't contribute, Mom didn't contribute, so between them they have zero say, and you should have zero Fs to give. And OP replies, you're absolutely right. Matt and my mom had their chance to contribute and they chose not to. Now that the hard work and costs are behind me, it's only fair that they respect the effort that I put in. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for selling my grandma's house instead of letting my cousin live in it for free? I'm a 35-year-old female and my grandmother passed away last year and left me her house. It wasn't a mansion or anything ridiculous, but it was fully paid off in a great location and held a lot of sentimental value. She left it to me specifically because I was the only one who took care of her in her final years, helping with groceries, doctor's appointments, and spending time with her when she was lonely. My cousin Tyler, a 30-year-old male, also lived in that house, but not because he was taking care of Grandma. He had nowhere else to go. Tyler has always been the black sheep of the family, and he never had a steady job, refused to take responsibility for anything, and always somehow has an excuse for why life is so unfair to him. When he moved in with Grandma 4 years ago, everyone assumed that he would help her out. Instead, he treated her house like a free Airbnb. He barely spoke to her, he never helped with chores, and expected her to cook for him well into her 80s. I can't count how many times she called me frustrated and sad because Tyler wouldn't even take out the trash or mow the lawn. I tried talking to him about it, but he always brushed it off, saying she doesn't need me to do that stuff for her. She likes doing things her way. Meanwhile, when I visited, I was the one scrubbing dishes while he sat in his room gaming. Grandma never kicked him out, but I know that she was disappointed in him. In the last few months of her life, when her health started to decline, he was never around. I was the one taking her to the hospital, making sure that she had her medication, and staying overnight when she was scared to be alone. Tyler? He was out with friends or locked in his room, pretending not to hear when she called him for help. When she passed, I was devastated. Then the will was read, and I found out that she had left me the house. I felt incredibly grateful, but not surprised. She had told me many times that she wanted me to have it because I actually cared. Tyler, however, was shocked and furious. He immediately called me, demanding to know why the house wasn't left to both of us since he had lived there. I told him that Grandma made her choice, and it wasn't my decision. And that's when he started guilt-tripping me. She would have wanted me to stay here. You know I can't afford rent anywhere else. Where am I supposed to go? I suggested that he find a job and get an apartment like everyone else. He scoffed and said, oh, so you'd rather profit off of Grandma's death than keep a roof over your cousin's head. He told the rest of the family, spinning it like I was throwing him out on the street. A few aunts and uncles took his side, saying that I didn't need the money and that selling the house was heartless. But where were these same people when Grandma was struggling? Where were they when I was the one making sure that she had food, medicine, and comfort in her final days? I felt no obligation to let Tyler stay in the house for free after the way he treated Grandma. But with half of the family calling me greedy, I'm starting to wonder, am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk, and you can let that half of the family know that they can support Tyler.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, that's the simplest solution, right?
Exactly. Like, they are family too, and they can take care of him.
Yeah.
It seems like he is just not a very good person. The way he treated the grandmother, he couldn't even pitch in, wouldn't come when she called for help, would just ignore her. Why does he deserve to stay in that house? But on top of that, it sounds like he also doesn't do housework. Like, he was expecting your 80-year-old grandma to cook for him. You would, if you did not like, and if you let him stay in this house, it's going to become a wreck, or
Yeah.
you're going to end up being, and you're going to be the one ending up doing all the cleaning and cooking after him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really concerned about what it's going to be like with him living there on his own, or
Mm-hmm.
even there with OP, if OP decides to move in, right? Because OP, if they move in, they're going to be responsible for all the cooking and cleaning and chores and stuff like that. It's not going to change. And if Tyler lives there on his own, he's going to be not doing any of that stuff. The
Right.
dishes are going to pile up in the sink. He's, going to not, it's just going to be a wreck. It's
Right. It
really
won't
going to
take
be a
long
wreck.
for it to become an absolute hazard.
So I don't think that OP is in the wrong at all. I think that they deserve the house, and I think that he deserves to be kicked out onto the street, especially after ignoring calls for help,
Mm-hmm.
right? He doesn't deserve to live there,
No.
plain and simple. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, I Need Some Advice for Moving On. About 8 months ago, I'm a 21-year-old female, and my ex-boyfriend, a 22-year-old male, broke up with me. While breaking up with me, he insisted that we were the right people, wrong time, and that we would find our back way to each other eventually. He also said that he was okay with me remaining friends with some of his family, and he was sure that we would end up together again. The problem is that he has made it really hard for me to move on, as those words just keep ringing in my head. I go to college, I go to work, and I hang out with my friends and I have hobbies. Do all of those things not to linger on the breakup, but months later, I'm still distraught that it's over. I tried dating, but it didn't work out because it was obvious that I wasn't over him. I'm in therapy, but we haven't really talked much about the breakup because A, I have other things to talk about that seem more pressing, and B, I can't talk about him without bawling my eyes out. So, does anyone have any advice on how to move on and not stay stuck on him? I'm so sick of feeling this way. All right, folks, what do you think?
I think I have a few different things here. First of all, it's important to recognize that what he said was incredibly selfish. He is using this as a means to keep his options open,
Yeah.
and he doesn't care what it does to you psychologically, as long as he can go back to you in the end if that's what he wants, if that's what's convenient to him. First of all, if you are still in contact with any of his family members, I would recommend getting out of contact with them for the time being. Doesn't matter how nice or kind they are, they're going to remind you of him. They're probably going to give you updates on him and whatnot. So I do that. I know you said you haven't talked about in therapy because you break down. There are a few possibilities here. One, you could try journaling on your own, trying to get all those feelings down on the page. It may feel a little like easier to be able to cry in peace in your own space, but also recognize that therapists are regularly see people who cry. They are trained to be there for you when you are experiencing difficult emotions. So if you can find it in you to talk to the therapist about this, it might be a good way, and they might have good ideas for how to help you process these feelings.
Yeah, I mean, I think that OP, I feel very, I'm sorry for the loss of the relationship, but I think that if someone really truly loves you, then they're not going to lead you on like this.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be with you because you're the right person for them. They're not going to say, "Oh, I just need to sow my wild oats while I go out and have fun at your
Right.
expense."
Well, the thing is, it's so open-ended too. Like,
Hmm.
sometimes people, like, if they have to be apart for a certain amount of time and they can't handle long distance, they might have a concrete time period.
Yeah.
He didn't give you any kind of indication. This wasn't an, oh, I have to move across the country to take care of my grandma,
Yeah.
and I don't think I can handle a relationship right now. This was a, maybe someday in the future we will end up together.
Hmm.
Like Brian was saying, someone who loves you does not leave you hanging like that.
Yeah, and so again, like I agree with Amber there. If it had been a concrete timeline, that would be a really different thing. And also, like, I think what you're kind of experiencing are the stages of grief. And one of the stages of grief, of course, is denial. And right now, you want to be with him, and you're kind of denying that the relationship is over. And that's especially hard with the manipulation, whether intentional or not, that he has done with you, where he's kind of hung this carrot in front of you saying, we'll end up back together. I think that you kind of have to, if you want to move on, accept that the relationship is over. And one of the stages of grief is anger. And, honestly, I would get angry about this. I would think that getting angry would help you to move forward about this. You should be angry that he's left you hanging like this, that he's out, playing the field while you're, sitting at home crying. And this guy, he really doesn't deserve those tears, right? And I think that if you move past the, denial stage and move on to some of the other stages of grief, then it'll help you move past this. And that might be something that you can talk to your therapist about and figure out a way of going through those stages.
Yeah, well, and getting angry can be a really good distraction from a lot of other hard emotions, a way to break you out of them. I actually have an anxiety playlist for when you're like having a panic attack that encourages you to start getting angry that the anxiety is controlling your life this much. And it's a way to distract you, refocus your energies. And so while being angry for long periods of time isn't a good place to be in, some temporary anger to help pull you out of that and see the picture more clearly, see that this is not some kind of kind, loving gesture, that what he's doing is actually very cruel, may help.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Update. My husband doesn't see how his work wife is trying to destroy our marriage. And Sakura actually sent this along as well, so thanks to them as well. Well, I'm back. First, I want to address some of the negative comments to all the people saying that they're Team Sarah and hoping that Sarah and my husband get together. I even saw a nasty comment saying that Sarah and my husband would be the office power couple. How can you sit there and say nothing's going on? You claim that my husband didn't cheat and that I'm just being ridiculous. Yet, in the same breath, you wish that they would get together? You're contradicting yourself because deep down you know that something romantic was developing. Now for the update. My husband came to my mother-in-law's house. She did not call him. He knew that I was there because I told him, and he wanted to talk. Some big things happened in such a short time. He wanted to explain, according to my husband, after I left, that he started to reflect. He did call his mom, and they had a long talk. I did not know any of this. She asked him if he was happy with me, and he said yes, and that I made him extremely happy. I was a good wife and a great partner. This is kind of when it sunk into him, that he was being juvenile for wanting attention from another woman. I did ask him why he always brushed things off and he never took action before. He said that he couldn't explain it, it just felt good. He assured me that he never wanted to sleep with her and things never advanced that way. It was just nice having someone around who was fawning over him like a fan. For those who said that he didn't know that it was an emotional affair and was just agreeing with me, you were right. He admitted that he didn't really understand what an emotional affair was, but after looking it up, he agreed that this is what it was, though unintentional. He said that he didn't want to lose his friend, so he just went along with a lot of what she did. He admitted that he was deep into a fog, but me leaving and this conversation with my mom was one of the things that brought him out of it. He said that he didn't want to fight. My husband is a big person on giving me space, so when I left, he didn't chase after me because he thought that it would be best for us just to cool down for a little while and think about this and hopefully come back and discuss it more rationally. He did reach out to Sarah, though they didn't meet in person. They had a phone call. He told her that they couldn't remain as close and that their out-of-office texts and calls needed to stop, that he would get a replacement mug and that she wasn't supposed to touch it and that they needed to cut back on their lunches. He wanted to handle this before talking to me to show that he was serious. Sarah didn't take it well. She started berating me, saying that I was forcing him to do this. My husband stopped her and said no, he was doing this because his marriage was important. He admitted letting those things go too far, but clarified that he had no romantic interest in her. He told her that if she had feelings for him, she needed to distance herself immediately. Sarah ended up ruining their friendship herself, though my husband was willing to maintain a more distant friendship. Her comments about me and him, claiming that she never wanted him and that everything that she did was because she knew that we weren't meant to be together and she was trying to open his eyes. He said that he couldn't believe that he had never seen how vindictive and awful that she was, and that she was almost venomous. It didn't end well. After handling the situation, he came to see me, wanting to ensure that I knew that he understood and he was taking the proper steps. He said that we could do whatever I needed. I know some of you say that I'm in the wrong, that divorce is the only option because he had an emotional affair. I'm sorry to disappoint, but I'm not divorcing my husband. I told him that we needed counseling for both of us. Yes, going through all of his devices, emails, and texts might have been extreme. He also agreed it felt like a breach of privacy, but understood given the circumstances. I told him that we both needed to work on things. As of right now, I guess that you could say that we're separated. We're not staying in the same house. We're going to attend counseling. I don't want to just jump back into things with him. I don't want to seem like it was okay to make him feel like I was the second option to ignore all those red flags and to brush me off. This has to be worked on. I'm leaving his mother's house and I'm going to be staying with a friend. I'm not sure if anyone is going to want an update after this. Sorry that this is so anticlimactic. Sorry, it's just the typical, oh, you got back together. I mean, it is, but it isn't. I love my husband, and I know that he loves me. I don't think that everything is end all be all quite yet. It's a terrible situation. He did a terrible thing, but I want my marriage to last, so we're giving it another go. I genuinely hope that this is my last update, but if not, you all will know. Thank you for all the messages, all the support, and everything. It has been a huge help. All right, folks, what do you think?
I wish OP the best with this. I'm glad that she's taking things slow with reuniting with her husband, because I definitely think that he has done some things that are seriously wrong, and I know he's starting to take accountability, but this is a long process. He betrayed OP in some fundamental ways. He dismissed her and manipulated her for a long time. And so, yeah.
I mean, I guess my biggest thing is like he actually shows remorse, and he has taken the appropriate actions of cutting Sarah off, and so I think that actually goes a really long way for me to actually believe that he's genuinely remorseful for the way that he's acting, and him going into therapy and working on these kinds of feelings, I think is a really great start. Does this mean that their marriage is solved? I don't think it does. I think that they have a lot of work here. But I think that this is the first step to them getting back together. And I think that he's approaching this in a healthy way. You know, this differs from a lot of these kind of stories where he is taking full responsibility for everything.
Yeah.
You know, he isn't trying to pawn this off saying, oh, it was Sarah, oh, and I didn't do anything. He isn't trying to, say, oh, this is on OP because she didn't pay enough attention to me or anything. So it really does feel like he's coming from a place of remorse. So I do have some hope.
Yeah.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And folks, I guess there is another update to this one, but I don't have enough time to read it today. So we'll read it tomorrow, hopefully. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What title might you use for a weapon?
Oh, I can tell you exactly what title I use for my weapons. I use count, because they count the number of times I stab.
Wow. Lord Sword.
Lord Sword works too, but Count Stabby works great.
Okay. Today is International Sword Swallowers Day. I was completely derailed by Count Stabby.
Count Stabula strikes again, with Bernard the Unhinged in the flank.
That makes sense. That answers a lot of questions.
Yes, it does. And I have some Earl Grey. Full disclaimer, folks, I've never stabbed anyone with a knife or a sword or anything like that. Maybe a pencil once in 7th grade.
I've stabbed myself with a butter knife. Not like stab, but I have managed to cut myself on a butter knife before.
Yeah. Well, my situation was a little bit different because, like, this person had been basically bullying and harassing me, and they kind of took it too far, and I lost my temper, and so I tried stabbing them. We were broken up. I don't think I actually successfully stabbed them, but we both were sent to counseling in the school. Oh, middle school. I miss you so much.
Says no one.
Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Spectacular Saturday, folks. I hope your Saturday is off to a spectacular start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please, pretty please, have it on unwelcome guests.
It's not your responsibility to house family members who have mistreated you or people you love or haven't contributed.
Yeah, all that stuff. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
And you should give 0 Fs, and so you should have 0 Fs.